everyone, this is Orion, Kilo Echo 7 Victor Lima Charlie. This is going to be another educational video for the Mesa Amateur Radio Club. Today's topic is going to be slow scan TV. Now, what is slow scan TV? Slow scan TV is a way of sending video over a voice band channel. This can make it practical to send a video over thousands of miles via the ionosphere versus direct line of sight. Slow scan TV, according to Wikipedia, is a picture transmission method used mainly by amateur radio operators to transmit and receive static pictures via radio in monochrome or color. What are we talking about? Static pictures. Static pictures such as QSL cards. Great way to send your information in your QSL card across the air without actually having to put a stamp on it and toss it in an envelope and send it somewhere. Essentially, what slow scan TV is narrowband television. It doesn't use the 6 megahertz wide channel like regular broadcast TV does. It only takes up about 3 kilohertz of bandwidth, which is the reason why you find it in the voice frequencies on most HF bands as well as VHF and UHF. Now, I'll post links to some of this information in the show notes. I'm not going to go into too much detail as to exactly what SSTV does or anything of that nature, but just here's an example of what the actual bandwidth looks like on a waterfall. It looks kind of very unique. There's definitely a little bit of a carrier in here. And then there's quite a few different modes. You've got the robot modes. You've got the Martin and the Scotty. So here's a little short snippet of my equipment that I used. Now I did this primarily out of my car. It was basically in the middle of the workday. I took my lunch hour to do this, so I walked outside and went over to my car and actually hooked all this stuff up. Essentially, what I did is I ran my Arrow antenna and I connected it to the back of my mobile rig, which is an FT8800, and then essentially I put my microphone down right in front of the speaker. And then I plugged my microphone into my laptop, and that's essentially how I did it. So here's a little short snippet of how I did it. This is KE7VLC with Whiskey Mike 7 Romeo Charlie, getting ready to do an ISS slow scan TV pass. I'm going to go over my equipment really quick. Have the Arrow antenna. It's a little windy day, so if you hear wind noise, sorry about that. I've got it attached into my FT88. Right there, got the squelch all the way down, tuned up, got a microphone into my laptop. So, we're going to see how this goes. So let's talk about software and that you're going to need. Now, the piece of software that I use is SSTV, and this is for Windows only. There's a couple other pieces of software out there that you can find that does the exact same thing. I just prefer the SSTV. I haven't really played around with the others, so in reality I can't tell you exactly which one is the best piece of software out there because I haven't really played with all of them to see exactly what all their strengths and weaknesses are. I haven't played around with the Linux version at all. I have a version of Linux. I have a Raspberry Pi that I might end up loading on one of these days. But as of right now, the piece of software that I'm using is SSTV. And it's a fairly simple piece of software to use. There's a little bit of intricacies that you're going to have to play around with and find a tutorial for. There's another piece of software that I use, and it's primarily for my smartphone. Now, it's kind of interesting. It's called Robot 36. And I'll just post it right here. Look, it's already starting to try to decode something. although there's no sound out there, so it's not going to decode anything. It's just going to give me just a plain screen right there. That's something for Android users that can download. I'm sure that there's an Apple version out there that you can probably download as well. And all you have to do for that is basically stick it right up to your speaker, of your HT or your mobile radio or even your HF rig if you really wanted to, and decode right to your cell phone. So again, the equipment is not really anything major. It's kind of a cheap way to get into the at least receiving. Now transmitting is going to be a little bit difficult. You're gonna have to play around with your radio and your software and all of your connections to get your radio to work. I prefer using the poor man's method only because I don't have a couple $1,000s to shell out on a brand spanking new radio and all the different pieces of equipment to attach it to my computer just yet. One of these days I will. All right, but for now what I do is I use the poor man's method. All right, so Frank was kind enough to send me over a video of his side of decoding the International Space Station SSTV for the Cosmonaut Day celebration from the Russians up on the International Space Station. So I'm going to put that in here. Notice how he has software already decoding his. He's got several different pieces of software. One to actually track the satellite. One to, and that same piece of software actually adjusts his radio, which is computer controlled. So it's different than mine. I use the poor man's method, which is basically putting the microphone up in front of the speaker. Well, Frank doesn't need to do that. He's got his computer controlling his radio to adjust for the Doppler effect, which is the reason why his images are a little bit more on the crisper side than mine is. Only because as this ISS comes closer, the frequency tightens up, and as it's going away, it loosens up. So that's called the Doppler effect. Anybody who's ever been near a railroad crossing and has heard the train's horn as it's blowing past you, you'll hear the distinctive sound of really high-pitched sound coming towards you, and then as it's going away, it becomes deeper and lower in frequency there. So pay attention to what he's got on there, and he goes into a little bit more detail as to how he's got everything all set up.
And here we have a reception from the International Space Station. We can see on the screen here, receiving a slow scan television image that's being transmitted from the International Space Station. I'm using the program SSTV as my reception program. It looks like we're having an excellent signal as it does a pass just a bit to the south, heading down just off the coast of Mexico and Baja California. I'm using the Ham Radio Deluxe program as a tracker. You can see all the information on the space station here, its current position, and its distance located from me. One of the features of this is it allows it to automatically control the radio, and it's actually automatically adjusting the frequency as it moves through the sky to adjust for what's known as the Doppler effect. And here we can see on the radio screen itself, it's set for the download frequency of the center frequency is 145.800. However, with the Doppler shift, it makes it 145.802. And as it passes by, it'll go down. Right now, since I won't be transmitting, I won't have but the frequency is set to transmit to the voice repeater on the space station also. We'll come back up to the image here. It's nearly completed. Once it's completed, there's approximately a 2-minute delay before they begin the transmission of the next image. A little bit of scratchiness at the end of this image, but nearly a perfect reception.
All right, let's go through a decode. I'm gonna play basically a sound from that I captured from the ISS Passover doing its slow scan TV, and I've got the SSTV software running. And what you're gonna hear is you're gonna hear a couple warbles. It's going to have a little initiating sound saying, okay, I'm starting my transmission now, which then kicks the software over and automatically refreshes the image screen so it's capturing a full image. We'll go over that throughout this whole entire part right here. All right, and there is the beginning signal, which what that does is it triggers your software into knowing, okay, this is the start of a brand new frame. And what it does is it kicks it over so that it starts at the top of the whole entire thing and then comes back down. Well, everyone, that's going to be it for right now on Slow Scan TV. Look for a future video on doing Slow Scan TV via HF radio. We're going to grab some video snippets from us using it during field day or that week of field day, because I really doubt that there's going to be anybody on Slow Scan TV during field day. But we'll grab some video of us doing a couple other digital modes as well as a little bit of Slow Scan TV via HF radio. So keep an eye out for that video when it does come out. Anyways, for Whiskey Mike 7 Romeo Charlie, this is Kilo Echo 7 Victor Lima Charlie. I'm going to sign out. I'm going to say out.